Alright guys, we're on day 2, evaluating algebraic expressions. Again, we're working on substitution and evaluating algebraic expressions. So again, we're just in a simple review situation. And today we're just going to be evaluating algebraic expressions with substitution. Substitution. I always spell that word wrong. Warm up from we're going to cancel that. I took that out. That was a whole bunch of fraction stuff that not necessary at this point, because you can just do it with your calculator. In a chemistry experiment, a certain solution has to be cooled from 42 degrees to minus 11. What is the change in temperature in the solution? So you have to decide, what do you know? Well, hopefully you know 42 degrees and negative 11 degrees. What do we have to know? Well, we have to know the change. So, how do we get there? We have a couple different ways, right? But they all involve, since we're changing, and it says cooled, it has to involve subtraction. So, if we want to get from 42 to 11, we have to subtract. To negative 11, we have to subtract. So, 42 minus negative 11 is going to give me 53 degrees of change. Now, I bet you're like, well, why didn't you put negative 11 first? And that's because it says from 42 to negative 11. So we want to make sure we're putting stuff in order. And that's been the key of what we've been talking about so far. Go ahead and do these two. So pause the video and do these two problems and see how you do. Alright, that first one was pretty simple. 13, I heated it 25, so that's plus, and then I cooled it 12, that's minus. So at the end, it was 26 degrees Celsius. A temperature was cooled 21 and ended at 67. A temperature is the key. When we don't know something, we put a variable. Then it said it was cooled 21, so I know it went down 21 degrees. And it ended, whenever I see the word and ended, I'm thinking equal sign, 67. So then I solve for x. My original temperature was 88 degrees. These are the ways that we need to think, okay? And so we use this to help us evaluate expressions. It's very important that you remember PEMDAS when making substitutions. You also want to use parentheses. So anywhere you think there needs to be a parenthesis, you better put it. So, for example, in number 1, negative 8 squared times 1/2 times negative 2 squared. Well, we have negative 64 times 1/2 times 4. So we basically end up with negative 64 times 2, which is negative 128. The second one, negative 8 squared plus 2 times 1/2. Notice how many parentheses I'm putting here. Divided by negative 2 squared. Important, the parentheses matter. 64 plus 1 divided by 4. It's going to end up being 65/4. Or something like 16 1/4. AB, so negative 8 times 1/2 divided by negative 8 times negative 2 cubed. Well, that ends up being negative 4 divided by positive 64, which is negative 1/16. Again, I followed the same rules. Do the top, do the bottom, and then divide. Remember, when we use absolute values, it's best if we just go ahead and put everything in. -1 minus, and then I get 3 minus 4. So then I do -1 minus the absolute value of -1. The absolute value of -1 is 1, so it's -1 minus 1. And that is equal to -2. 15/4. I'm going to go ahead and do square root of 36. That's 6. Plus the absolute value of -7/4. Now I went ahead and put a 4/4 in here just because I ease with the fraction. So I get 15/4 minus 6 plus 7/4. So I get 22/4 minus 6, and then if I do my calculator, I get -1/2. Same thing with square roots and cube roots. Go ahead and do this slide on your own. This will be my check to make sure you did the video on your own. And that's it. Really short video. But the cool thing is you guys have done this. So you're going to go ahead and pick odds or evens. Now notice on this sheet, A3, B, -9, C5 goes for the top 10. A, -6, B, -3, C4 goes with the bottom 10. On this sheet, you know, it's all 1/8, 64, 1/4, and 27. And then when we get to the back, it's 3, -10, 1/2, 9, 1.5, and 12. And then the bottom, I gave you some really hard ones. But your classwork for today is to do the odds or evens for both pages. Have any questions, see me. But again, this should be pretty much easy, and you guys should be right on track of reviewing.